my name is Susan, and this is kind of my sordid tale of how I came to relationship with Christ. I I always had a want for something, but it was something that I didn't know what that something was. There was just some kind of an emptiness in my whole, I almost must say I could feel it in my whole being, but never knew exactly what that was. When I got into high school, there was a group of students who would meet weekly after school in the cafeteria. They would pray, do Bible study together, and every time I would go past on my way out, I just had this ache that I wanted to be part of that. But I didn't realize how important that was to me. I just felt that, well, I saw some of my friends in it, so I wanted to be with them. And actually, I was able to tell one of my friends about that not too long ago. And I guess that just goes back to the importance of being in community. And as I got older, I thought, well, I don't need other people. I've got me. I'm strong. I'm a woman. I don't need anybody. But I started going down a really hard, dark road that making a lot of decisions that I had warned other women not to make. But it was just, I don't need anybody. I'm going to go be me. And then one day I walked into a church doing a business to business visit. And as the pastor was showing me around, I kept hearing this voice saying, "You belong here. You belong here." And I brushed it aside because they were in a building that I had had a lot of years in with my family business. So I just figured, yeah, you belong here because you know the building. And as I was leaving that day, the pastor offered to pray for me. My pattern response through the years had become, "Thank you. I would appreciate that very much." And then turn around and leave. And he said, "No, right now. I want to pray for you right now. What's going on in your life?" Nobody, not even my family, knew that that day actually I was starting therapy. And I dissolved while he and another church member were praying for me. I never felt that kind of God presence before. And that was my real turning point. I had tried church a few years prior, but it just, at that time, I guess I was not ready for true relationship with Christ. But that time around, it was completely different for me. I found community. I found strength that I thought I had, but I was so wrong. I made the decision to be baptized a few months after that whole "you belong here" moment. And the emptiness that I felt my whole life, the missing out, the loneliness that I had just completely washed away when I got into not only relationship with Christ, but community with people who are themselves believers and in relationship with Christ. It was just that, I've always said it was just something missing, something missing. And it was the peace that comes with Christ and his open arms. His open arms that I never felt from anybody outside of my parents. But to have that from Christ, from the community of believers of his people, was something so so beautiful to me. And after some time with growing in Christ and a lot of learning how to let him be my friend, really, I think would be the best way to put it. And being able to talk with him just like I do physical friends, and learning to shut my own mouth and hear him talk with me as well. The whole relationship became a relationship. I actually, instead of knowing of God, I know God. I know what God means to me. I know what life was like before I knew God. And it was so dark, so lonely. But it's just been a complete reversal on that. I grew up a lot. I grew up a lot in a very short period of time in that. There's a lot to be said for that relationship with God. And sometimes we get caught up in, I'm busy with the kids, I'm busy with my job. We get tied up in our lives, but we don't realize that a life without God, without that presence, really actually isn't a life. You're just busy, you're occupying time, but there's no true strength in what you're doing without God, without that stability that comes in relationship with him. Every person has their own different path that they go on in life. And yeah, we think we're strong, we think we don't need anybody, we can do it ourselves. But when you invite God into your life, you're not alone. And it's not only having God in your life, but having community with others who believe, and having a church family is so important with that as well. I'm sure the people in my church get tired of hearing me say the word community, but that means so much to me. And I did a lot of thinking a few weeks ago as to why that word means so much to me. And it was because growing up, that was something that I did not have. There weren't a lot of kids my age in the neighborhood. Things were a little bit different with our family compared to most other families. And I just had no community that was mine. It was always people that my parents knew, but nobody of my own age or my own I had a lot of people that were my parents' people, but none of my own people, kind of thing. But when I came into a community of Christ believers, you have the support from those people as well, and people that are walking that same path with you. They may not have gotten there the same way that you did, but you're still walking that together. You are not alone. You've got God with you. You've got the people in your community with you. And that is something that, the phrase there's strength in numbers, I think really sums up what the community of Christ is for people. And just not being alone and having that at all times is the ultimate reason for community for me.
Hi, my name is Dan, and this is my story. At a young age, I started to go to church with a neighborhood friend, and with him and his family, at about the age of 8, I was led to Christ. And from about 8 until, I don't know, 12, 13, 14 years old, I stayed pretty much connected with the church. And as early teens came in, peer pressure and various other interests came along, it seemed like church kind of fell off. And it became something that I didn't do. You kind of slow down and you don't go and you don't go. And suddenly you're just not there anymore. Um, this lasted a really long time, a lot longer than it really should have. But I became interested in my career after high school. Spent a lot of time, I mean, hours and hours and hours working on a career that really, it didn't take me anywhere ultimately. But I learned something kind of interesting throughout all of that. I had learned that during most of that time, God was still watching over me, still protecting me, still there, even though I wasn't really keeping my eyes on God. I mean, I had strayed really badly for a while. Got involved in a lot of New Age stuff and practices that, um, by any other stretch of the imagination, could be considered either demonic, satanic, or whatever you would like to call it. But it was not things that were of God. And after a number of years of doing that, and in realizing that something needed to change, it did, but not in the way that I was expecting. It took my father having a really bad heart attack to kind of get my attention and to put me back on track. Um, his heart attack disabled him. He left work, wasn't able to work any longer, and told me that he wanted to spend more time studying the Bible. Um, with my father, he is either all in or all out, and he jumped in with both feet. And he started studying, started working, and along the way needed somebody to talk to. That became me. And if you've ever been around anybody that really dives into the Bible, if you want to keep up with them, guess what you have to do? It's your turn to dive in as well. So that's what I started doing. I started also diving in. And the funniest thing kind of happened here. I like to say that God has a sense of humor, because at this point, all of the things that I had put off didn't really seem to be that important anymore, or all the things that I was doing didn't seem to be nearly as important anymore. Um, but studying the Word suddenly became very important. Went through a whole bunch of trials and tribulations during that time. It is very true that as you start to draw closer to God, you also start to draw the attention of the enemy. Sure enough, I went through my fair share of attacks. Um, there were multiple times that I really got beat down, but I also learned very quickly that I was the one that actually had the power to get myself back up through Christ. Okay, all I had to do was just lean in, just get closer to Christ, get closer to God, and um, the darkness just could not tolerate that. He would push it away every time for me. He protected me every time. Um, and that's a valuable lesson to learn, because like I said, I had strayed pretty badly. So, the fact that he was able to come back into my life and to show me, without a doubt, that I wasn't too far gone, that that he could pull me back in and dust me off, and I could become useful again, was huge. And like I said, he did that in a roundabout way through my father, and that lesson has stuck with me the rest of my life. There are times where you'll look at things and you go, I did all these things. Like I said, I was I was working on getting involved in a whole bunch of the New Age stuff, and I'll spare the fine details, but like I said, it was not of God, but he was really, really able to step in as soon as I turned away from that. He was right there, literally able to step in and embrace me and say, "Hey, it's okay. Come back. Let's get going on the right path." And I've been doing that ever since. You know, you really are never too far away. I think the first thing is really start to come to the realization that the relationship that you have with Jesus and with God is a real thing, okay? It's tangible. And as you build that relationship, as you lean into that relationship and you start to feel you'll feel things start to change in your life. You'll feel things start to move, start to grow. And once that happens, there's no going back. It's to me at least, there was all the stuff before that I did, and I beat myself up trying to do, working on a career. I mean, I was working 120 hours a week and going nowhere. It was ridiculous. And but my eyes weren't where they belonged. And after that all went away, and I really started focusing on what mattered and really leaning into Jesus, everything changed, and once you get that change, you just don't want to go back. Never give up. It's never too late to start that walk, okay? You have never done anything that is so bad that God can't forgive you, okay? Even if you think you have, there's nothing that you've done on this earth that is so bad that God can't forgive you if you go to him and you ask for repentance. Now, there's a little more to it than that, and I would tell you to please take that up with your pastors, because they can explain the intricacies of that. But it's really that simple. Just ask for forgiveness, ask for his love, and and start following. Because once you feel God's embrace, you really don't want to go back.
Hi, my name is Lynn, and I'd like to share my story and my journey of how I came to know Jesus. As a little girl, my mom would share Jesus, and she wanted, us to know the Lord and stuff. And as a young child, I went to Sunday school and vacation Bible school. And I remember as a young kid back in the day, when we were allowed to take Bibles to school, I'd bring my Bible to school. I would read from page to page, but back then I didn't understand it, Anyways, and then, I just was a kid doing her own thing. And then when I got to be 18 through 20, I met a guy, and he became my son's father. And I don't want to speak bad of him, but he was an atheist, and I wasn't aware of that. But anyways, we had a lot of trouble, and when Justin got a little older, we went to church together, and things just didn't, we did go to church, and we did get baptized together, and we accepted Jesus. I was 30. And then shortly after that, I had a nervous breakdown. It was from, being with a person that wasn't fit for me. He wasn't as close to God. And I had a nervous breakdown, and you wouldn't know it to see me today, but I actually had agoraphobic, and that's an illness that you're afraid to leave your home. I barely got off the couch. My son was like 8 years old back then. It was hard on him. I know it. And then I would speak to my son even about Jesus, and today he's a Christian, because I brought him to Jesus. And I've been, a few relationships that just weren't, God didn't want me in those relationships. So I had the courage from God. You got to get away from there, Lynn. I got you, Lynn. And then when I moved up here maybe 14 years ago to Pennsylvania, my parents were ill, and I was their caretaker, and through their passings and stuff, I didn't know what to do. I really didn't know what to do, and God guided me. I know He guided me through every step that I took, with their passings and everything. And I just knew. I was like, Lord, you're giving me the strength to get through this, the loss of my parents, and throughout that, I still was, getting involved with bad relationships, and God said, Lynn, I got you. I got you. And I truly knew He had me. And so I journeyed on my own, and I've been very independent, and me and the Lord are so close. And I've had a few illnesses along the way. I mean, when I had the agoraphobic and anxiety and depression, I was like, Lynn, this is going to be your life for the rest of your life, And people to see me today would like to be like, I can't believe that was you at one time, And I've been to a few churches here in Pennsylvania, but I tell you what, being in a church community, I mean, there was not too long ago, it had nothing to do with, churches or anything, but I just stayed away for a while. And I felt so lonely. I was like, oh, I am just so alone. And I started, coming back. And I was like, you just feel such a peace with the Lord. Everybody should, I don't know how anyone does it without Him, because He gives you the strength, the comfort, the peace. And about 2 years ago, I lost a really good friend of mine. We were buddies. And after he passed, I couldn't sleep. I reached out to a Christian friend, and I said, I can't sleep, And she says, Lynn, tell God to hold you. And He did. I felt Him holding me. And I've had, some illnesses recently. I've had vertigo a couple of times, but this is maybe 3 weeks ago. I went to the hospital for vertigo. They did a CT scan. They found something, did an MRI. There's something there, but you know what? I feel peace about it. I know He's got me, and you can have Him too. He's so awesome, and he's my Father, and He could be your Father. So if you have the opportunity, reach out to Him, because He will give you all the peace and comfort that no one else can give you. Is our dear Father. You feel such a love in your community, and everybody's got your back, and you don't feel alone anymore. I want to be more involved. I'm getting older, and as you get older, you do become closer to God. You do become closer to God, and it's like I can read a verse now in the Bible. I couldn't understand it when I was a kid, but I can read a verse in the Bible, and I'm like, I get it. I get it. I get it. I understand, and it's such an awesome feeling to be able to understand the Bible more. And the closer you get, He just blesses you too. I mean, to look at my apartment, I never thought I would have such a nice apartment that I have, and a car that I have, and a kitty cat that I have, and I just feel so at peace, and I am so blessed. And it's not because of me or anything I've done, it's because of Jesus. Oh, my life has changed since life isn't easy. It's not always peaches and cream. It's not. But when you go through certain circumstances, you reach out, and God got your back. I mean, I have strength, and today I don't need a companion. I want one, but God wants that for me. He will lead me to it. And I can share another story too. I mean, I'm going to be 62 soon. And back when I was 60, around my friends, I was like, I'm not married. I don't have a boyfriend, this and that. I was panicking. And I went up to the altar, prayed about it, and that feeling just left me. And I've been, so many times I've gone up to the altar and had the pastor pray over me, and the symptoms I had just gone. I mean, just a couple of weeks ago, I prayed for my neck. My neck felt like there was a big knot in my neck. It was really bad. And today, I mean, sometimes I'll see it get a little stiff, and the Holy Spirit goes, "Nope, no, Lynn, it's not going to happen." But that pain was bad, and I got healed that day. And he's just an amazing Father, and I praise Him every day. Every day that He gives me a day, and that I can share Jesus to other people, and I want to be a guiding light for others, to see Jesus, in me, and that they'll want that too.
I do have some friends right now, they're going to have surgery and they can't sleep. And I'm like, listen, you know what? Turn your worries and your cares to God. He's got you. Sleep in peace. I've had to do that. Like you have worries and concerns and things going through your head, and you're just like, God, I know you have this. God, take this worry from me. And He will. He'll take that worry from you. And what else? I wouldn't know. I mean, I've been trying to, I try to reach out to others, like my neighbors. I'll give them pamphlets and stuff. And, I'm hoping that they, one day, they know that I'm a Christian, and hope that one day they would want to come. And I do have some friends today that we speak of Jesus, and they actually came to church, and it was because I was like, you gotta come to church, and they did, and it was like so awesome. But it was awesome. It wasn't all me, God led them to come here, and they're still coming to this church. If you don't have peace from the Lord, life is hard. I mean, it's hard as a Christian too, but life is so much harder without Him. It's a guarantee that life is so much harder without Him. And that's my story, and I'm glad I was able to share it with you, and God bless you.